So the war in Ukraine is continuing. We are in week 2 of the Russia invasion of Ukraine. There has been pitch resistance by the Ukrainians. There has been all sorts of war crimes. And I don't want you to think that the reason there are so many war crimes is because either side is inherently evil, although you may believe that. Although I talked last week on the show about why you shouldn't do that, right? Why you shouldn't create heroes and villains in war. But the truth is, the reason there are war crimes in war is because there's war, right? War is a nasty thing. And we live in an age where, as much as we have technology, we have more of an ability to blow up lots of things than to blow up targeted things. So, is it possible that war crimes are being committed intentionally? Yeah, of course. It's very possible that's the case. And look, regardless of the war crime being committed on purpose, by accident, oopsie daisy, whatever, they're all bad, and I condemn all of them. However, what we need to understand as people looking into a war is that as long as the war goes on, there are going to be war crimes always. You are never just going to kill combatants. You are never just going to bomb military installations. You are never just going to kill people who have volunteered to be killed in war, right? Soldiers, leaders, what have you. We are continually living in urbanized societies. Military bases are near hospitals, near residential areas, near homes. Government buildings are near office buildings, right? There are very small spaces between things that are legitimate war targets and things that are civilian targets. And by the way, this is made more complicated by the fact that a lot of warfare takes place in cities, right? We aren't in the days of Napoleonic Europe when people are fighting out in lines on a field somewhere away from town, right? Battles are taking place in cities. They're taking place around where people live or lived if they've evacuated. And so because of this, you will have stray bullets, you'll have stray explosions, you'll have a mortar that is at the wrong angle, you'll have all sorts of things. And because the technology is so powerful, the explosives are so powerful, even with the greatest amount of technology possible, boom is still boom, and you are essentially going to get destruction of all kinds, right? And by the way, even if you are very careful and precise with the way you destroy things, there are still after effects, right? So if a bomb goes off somewhere, right, there's a shockwave from that bomb. It could send out windows, which could cut, the glass could break and hurt someone or whatever. You could you could hit a tank on a highway, but then that tank could fall. You could destroy the road, or you could destroy a service line or a water line, something that is needed to keep people alive. And because technically that's civilian infrastructure, that's a war crime, right? But war crimes are inherent to the nature of modern war by its nature, is the point I'm trying to make. And therefore, if we are going to have war, we are going to have war crimes, which means that the only solution to war crimes is just to not have war at all. Now, easier said than done. I get that. But when we start pointing fingers all over the place and making good guys and bad guys and saying, oh, they're committing war crimes, oh, they're committing war crimes, oh, they're committing war crimes, we use the accusation of war crimes to justify the actions and reactions of people on the ground in war. And by the way, war crimes are more likely to be committed as sides become increasingly desperate, right? And look, this can happen on both sides, right? So the Ukrainians can get desperate because Russian troops are closing in. The Russians could get desperate because maybe a plan went wrong that wasn't supposed to, and they start shelling indiscriminately. The point is, there isn't you don't make one side better than the other by tallying up the war crimes of one side versus the other. Because the amount of war crimes that are going to get committed in this war, just like in all modern wars, are going to be uncomfortable, to say the least. And lots of people who shouldn't die are going to die. Whether they die in Ukraine or in Russia or, in maternity wards or on the streets. The nature of modern war invites war crimes. And one side is not better than the other because it commits fewer war crimes. It just isn't. So if you're going to have a side, and I don't think people should have a side, obviously, if you do have a side, you need to be careful about not erasing the faults of the side that you are on, right? So if you support the Russians for whatever reason, you need to acknowledge that maternity wards and hospitals and civilian infrastructure and bridges are getting bombed, and that and that civilians are being bombed. If you support the Ukrainians, you have to recognize the existence of the Azov battalion, and you have to recognize the existence of reports that Russian artillerymen are not being captured alive anymore, that Russians who surrender are being killed, that Russians in prisoners of war camps are not being treated well. There are reports out there of those as well, right? So whatever side you want to take, and by the way, I do not advocate having a side. I think having a side in something like this is pointless unless your side is peace, and you will do anything to get to peace. But if you do insist on taking some kind of side, you do not get to claim that your other side is worse because more war crimes. Okay, you can claim that the other side is worse for other reasons, but that one, it just rings hollow because the way that wars are conducted now, there's no way to get around war crimes. There will never be a conventional war like we're seeing now that is not riddled with war crimes. It's literally impossible with the way wars are fought nowadays. And by the way, this is not to say that war crimes didn't happen in the past. They did. And they probably happened at equally or slightly lesser levels of discomfort to people looking back at them. And lots of civilians died in wars in the past. I'm not saying they didn't. But what I'm trying to say, and I guess the point of this segment, is twofold. And I'll close with this because I think I've made my points. If there's going to be a war, there are going to be war crimes. And two, the only way to avoid war crimes is peace. Sorry, it's the same one. 3/2.5. Neither side of this conflict is better than the other because fewer war crimes committed. I know it's an unpopular opinion, and I'm sure I will get ratioed for this take. But it's difficult for me to see how one side is better than the other when both sides are committing war crimes. One civilian dead is one too many, regardless of who kills them and regardless of why. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you liked it, throw a like on it, share with your friends, and subscribe for more of our content. You can also find all of our videos and clips on youtube.com. Just search Let Them Eat Bread and you'll find all of our content. Alright guys, see you next time. Bye for now.